She's getting there. So just change the strings on this thing and just kind of breaking them in. See here. Make sure these guys are good and stretched. Good morning to you, wherever you are in the world. Germany, I see you. Good morning to you. Breaking in these new strings. All right, be sure to let me know where you guys are watching from this morning. All right, let's see here. See if I can find a nice backing track. What's up, Chris? Good morning to you. Australia is in the building. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Never been to Australia. Hope to get there one day soon. Nigeria, I see it. Let's see here what I got going on. All right. I think my battery is dying in my bass. I'm getting some weird stuff happening with my preamp, so I think my battery is trying to die. Anytime you hear that stuff, just in case you guys aren't familiar with that, you hear some weird stuff kind of happening, some buzzing, some trashy type sounding noises, probably time to check your battery out. And I think that's exactly what I have going on right now. See what we got here. See what we got here. I see we got some more people on. Where you guys watching from this morning? As I'm still getting set up here. Hattiesburg, Mississippi. What's up, man? Danny? What's up, Tyrone? United Kingdom, I see y'all. Appreciate that, Danny. Danny, man, I came to Hattiesburg last year. Yeah, I came down to Hattiesburg. I actually did a clinic down there on last year. Miss you, man. Uh, so yeah, next time I come through that way, you gotta show up, man. Came right down to Hattiesburg last year. Will do. Alright, trying to knock the dust off this morning. I've been up. Sounding good, bro. Thank you, man. I've been up pretty early. Samuel, I see you, man. But I've been changing strings and doing other stuff this morning, so I hadn't really had a chance to really dig in much practicing yet. Just kind of getting these strings worked out. You have a question? Go ahead with your question. Hello from Zimbabwe, Africa. Zimbabwe, man, good stuff. I got to get to Zimbabwe. Bishop Tudor Bismarck is a friend of mine, so I have to get over there. He says he's playing some of my music over there. I'd love to hear from some of you guys. You heard any of my music in Zimbabwe? Drummer Boy, what's up, dude? There we go. K Oliver, what's up, man? It's a warrior bass strap. Nigeria, I see you. So this strap, I see a few people asking about the bass strap. This was actually a gift. A friend of mine who actually played Warrior as well gifted me this strap. This is a signature Warrior strap. Warrior bass, the same kind as the bass. But yeah, they made this pretty dope strap. I like it. It's really, really cool. So yeah, it was a gift. Somebody gave this to me actually. So yeah, it comes straight from Warrior. I think this is one of the older ones. I don't even know if they still make this particular strap. But yeah, you can go on the website and check it out. So yeah, if you're new joining this broadcast. Welcome. This is Grooves and Motivation Live. If some of you guys have seen some of the Grooves and Motivation videos on my channel, where I generally play a song and I kind of share some uplifting words and that kind of stuff, there are a few videos that are not live talks that are available on my channel as well. If you search that the playlist Grooves and Motivation, you'll find those videos. But if you're new to this, welcome to you. I know I don't greet you guys that are new enough, so welcome to you just joining this. I'm here this morning. I just got done changing my strings earlier this morning, so I'm still trying to work the kinks out and everything. Work the sleepiness off of my hands. I've been up for a while, but we don't wake up just blazing fast or playing a whole bunch of exciting stuff. Sometimes you have to work your way up to it. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in this morning. I think we got a good discussion. On today, but let's play a little bit more as a few more people join in. Be sure to hit that like button. Help this video be found by more people like you, more bass players like yourself. And I'd love to find out how you guys heard about me. Is it all through YouTube? Were you referred to me by somebody else? Have you heard any of my music? Did you hear about me through my music? I'm interested to find out how you guys are finding me. Absolutely. Thank you, man. Oh, yeah, there are backing tracks. I make a lot of backing tracks for you guys to practice to so that you can grow in your own personal time. Not only am I doing the lessons to help you out, but also so you can get the backing tracks and work on them in your own time, come up with your own ideas. I know a lot of you guys are limited. You don't have access to live bands. You don't have access to good, material. There are a lot of backing tracks here on YouTube, but a lot of times, sometimes we can't find those things that cater to the needs that we want as players individually. So I'm trying to cover a wide range of things that I know myself I would like to play to, and different things. Everything doesn't have to be fast. Everything doesn't have to be funky. Some stuff can be laid back. Some stuff can be smooth. I just want to play to something smooth that doesn't have the bass in it. So I try to think of all of those things when I'm creating tracks, and try to think of what the average player would be looking for, and something that people wouldn't think to make a backing track to. Those are the things I try to create backing tracks for you guys. So be sure to check those out. Go practice at your own leisure. Go through as many tracks as you possibly can, as many backing tracks. Yeah, all that stuff. So let's get back in it. So you discovered me on YouTube, all right. Let me read a few of these. Y'all know me. If you've been here a while, I'll get to playing or get to talking, and I'll miss like 100. I'll miss 100 comments, and I'll be way behind trying to get off of here. All right. So you said Samuel said I discovered you on YouTube. You were interviewing Justin Raines, who is one of my favorite bassists. Cool, man. Yeah, Justin is a good friend of mine. So, all right, I got you. So, you saw the Bass and Beyond with Justin Raines. Sweet. What's up, Nate? Tyrone said I discovered you on YouTube. Man, thank you. I appreciate that. He said, what a great discovery. All right, so let's see here. Y'all can keep them coming, though. side note, what you hear me doing, other than a lot of foolishness, I'm kind of going through the different tones. I just changed the strings on this bass. I use SIT strings just in case some of you guys want to know what strings I use. I use SIT strings, power wound nickel. Yes, these are what I use. So the side note I was gonna say, if you guys want to really learn the tone of your bass, of course, the best time to check that is when you have fresh strings. You can find out, what your bass can really do when the strings are dead, because you can really hear what the wood has to offer when the strings are dead. But you get more clarity in what your bass has to offer when the strings are brand new, because you hear everything that is resonating every ounce of the wood. And when I say the strings are dead, it really tells you what the bass will do, because it's like, okay, if this bass sounds this good when the strings are dead, oh man, if I put some good strings, some new strings on here, oh man, this thing is gonna sound amazing. But yeah, when you first, it's almost like that whole, when you change the strings, it's almost kind of like that going to a music store and playing the bass for the first time thing all over again. So that's really one of the best times to like start exploring your bass and seeing what tone options are available. I've had this bass almost 10 years. This is my signature Warrior. Everybody kind of know this bass or know me for this bass at this point. Um, it's kind of my whole logo. You see me with the single cut, this particular bass. Everything is kind of centered around this bass for the most part. So, but all that being said, I'm still learning tones. I'm still finding, I'm still exploring. And some of you guys are so quick to throw away a bass and move on to something else. And like you haven't truly explored all of the options. Now, I will say this, I will be honest. Now, even with the best basses, sometimes you have those seasons or those days that you're not like really feeling the tone. Like, I don't care what you do, change strings and all that kind of stuff. Well, sometimes when your strings start dying, more so than when your strings are fresh. When your strings are fresh, almost any bass sound really, really good, unless it's just horrible. But when your strings start to die just a little bit, you start losing interest a little bit in your bass. Man, I need to get me another bass. Just change the strings. You know what I'm saying? Change your strings, play with it, go through the different tones after changing the strings, and then see if you still feel that way. And another friend of mine gave me a tip. He was like, if you feel like you're tired of your bass, you want to sell it, put your bass down. Stop playing. If you have the option, you have another bass, put that particular bass down. Put it in the case, put it away for like a month or two, and then when you get ready to pull it back out, let somebody else play it. Put it in somebody else's hand and see how they sound, especially a good player. Put that bass in somebody else's hand after you've set it down for like a month or so, and after you hear it now with somebody else playing it, if you still don't like it, now you maybe need to get rid of it. But if your mind is like completely shifted and it's like, oh man, this thing sounds amazing, I'm gonna start playing this off. So it was just your ears. Your ears were playing tricks on you. Sometimes we can get so comfortable or so adjusted to hearing the same thing over and over again that we become bored. So sometimes you just have to get away from it. I went through spells with this bass there where I was like, oh, I need to change this. I need to do this. I need to add another. I need to, take away. I need to, we go through these spells with our instruments simply because we're bored. That's really all it is. We're bored and we need something else to kind of fill in there. Like a little child, they get bored after playing the same game after a while, and you just need to put it down. So sometimes you'll see me swapping out and doing different stuff, and it's so that I don't become bored with the instrument. It's so that I don't become, I don't get the bug that I need to keep buying instruments. Now, there's nothing wrong. Now, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with buying new basses. And by all means, if you have the money to do that, where you can keep buying instruments and it doesn't put you in a financial bind, go ahead, go for it. More power to you. I'm kind of envious of you. But at the same time, for me, it's like I'm one of those type people. It's hard for me to let something go. It's hard for me to get rid of something once I got it. But that from time to time I will trade it out, switch it up just a little bit. But for the most part, I'm pretty consistent. So we'll see how that goes as my career continues to progress. But yeah, let me see a few comments here. But that was just a little side note there, guys. If you want to really learn the tones of your bass, when you change the strings, that's a good time to really start exploring it. Hello, Jermaine Morgan. No matter what I do, I never sound and clean and clear. It's just a matter of practice, man. It's going to take a lot of practice to get where you want to be. Oh, I see. I missed some other stuff here. All right, Jermaine. I also play bass, but the challenge is that sometimes I just don't feel if I have it. I've hit a dead end, and my tongue is twisted. Jermaine, I also play bass, but the challenge is that sometimes I just feel as if I hit a dead end. How do I go further? Just keep practicing. I know that sounds redundant, but yeah, you have to keep pushing, have to keep practicing. I found you on YouTube. There's a lot of bass teachers, but not quite the quality. So I subscribe. Man, I appreciate that, Chris. That means a lot because I know there are hundreds of bass players here on YouTube. Danny Johnson says, I presently have an Ibanez SW65. It's more like a practice amp. What would you suggest for a church that holds 300 people? Something like either like a 410 or maybe a 212 situation. You know, you can get the two. That's a pretty. It's not. People are making cabinets now. Some of them are making cabinets that have the 210s and the 112 in there, or you can get a stack where you have 210s and 212s. That's what I was using for years. I was using 210s and 212s. Now I'm using 412s. So it's really up to you, whatever you want. And if you're running through the house, that matters as well, because sometimes you don't need all of that. If you're running through a house system, if you have your church is kind of advanced and they have where the bass runs through the the monitoring system at the church, you can kind of get away with less. You can almost bring in like a little small, combo amp, like something from TC Electronic or something like that, a little 110, something. You can get away with something very, very small as long as it's running through the house. You're really just using it for a monitor, because a lot of sound guys in those situations where I know some of you guys play in controlled environments, they don't like a lot of stage sound. So as long as you can hear yourself, but me personally, I would prefer to have at least like, 410s if possible, or 212s, or a combination of that, 210s, 212s, some combination of that. I would love to have that with me on the stage, and I'll turn my own volume down, but at least give me some options, you know what I'm saying? And generally, one of the things I learned to start doing over the years, if I have the opportunity to do it, I picked up this tip from Daryl Freeman, just kind of watching how he set up his rig, is I'll face the rig instead of the rig being behind me, depending on the scenario. When I was at New Birth, I used to have the rig right behind me because it really didn't matter where I had it at, as long as I could feel it, because I use in-ears. But if I'm not on in-ears, or even if I am on in-ears and I want to take one of them out, one of the common things I'll do is I'll set the amp to the side of me, maybe off to my right side or to my left side. I'll set the amp. Now, again, that's a tip I picked up from Daryl Freeman. Just setting the amp to the side of you so it's playing directly in your ear. So when it's right to the side of you, you don't have to work so hard with the volume. You can pull your stage volume down. Now, if your stage, if you're, let me see, if your stage, I guess this would be stage right on this side, or my left hand is be stage right, you could face your amp away from whatever side of the stage you're on, face your amp away from the stage. You know what I'm saying? So face your amp away from the stage. That way you can bump it up a little bit more and you're not blaring into the house or the audience. And the sound, man, you guys are good. You're not hearing it from him. He's not yapping about how loud you are on the stage. If you turn that amp away from him, that's just a tip. If you turn that amp away, you can turn it up a little bit more so you can feel a little bit more bottom end, because people don't understand. As bass players, we want to feel it. You know what I'm saying? We want to, even if we got in-ears on, I just want to feel a little bit more bottom end. There's some other places that I played at that I noticed that they put the bass cabinet behind the stage. It's enough where you can still feel the bass, but it's behind the stage, and they use in-ears. So it just that's the long version of answering your question, but I'm trying to answer it for multiple people, if you get my drift. So you know what I'm saying? You got different options of how you could kind of approach it when it comes to what you need to buy for your situation. If you have more of a traditional situation, then yeah, you probably, like I said earlier, you probably want to bring that amp out there on the stage, face it towards the audience where you're not running through the house, and make sure you have enough bottom end that it carries all the way to the back of the room. So yeah, and a good way to test that out and to test your levels, even if there are no other bass players in your church, sometimes just hand your bass to some random person that you can trust and just have them turn it all the way up. Just let them just make some noise on your bass, and you go to the back of the room and kind of see what your sound is sounding like all the way in the back. Sometimes if you got a bass player friend or something that could come to your church and play your bass, or come to your venue and play your bass. I learned that from a good friend of mine, Mr. James Howard, phenomenal bassist. But that's one thing he taught me. Like, if you have somebody else that can go and play your bass, and you go to the back of the room and just go to different points of the room and kind of see how your bass is coming across, because sometimes right when you're right there on your amp, you think your bass sounds amazing, and then you go to the back of the room, it's not clear. It's just, you sound like this. This is exactly what you sound like, but you think you sounding amazing. It sounds like this. That's what the people in the back are hearing. But on like you're hearing this right here. That sounds terrible. That ain't what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference in tone, because you're right there on the amp, you're getting all of the clarity, you're getting all of the brightness and all this stuff. So how you adjust that, sometimes you maybe need to roll off of, like, if you notice the building, everything makes a difference. Like the sound, the acoustic. I didn't really start this off to talk about this, but we're here now. So like the acoustics of the room does affect the sound of your bass. So the settings you have at your house, or like me, the settings I have in this room, I might have to slightly adjust those settings when I'm in a different setting. So because what's cool for this room might not work for another situation, because the room could be bass heavy, and if the room is real bass heavy, my bass has the tendency to sound more boomy. So anything I'm going to play, especially if I know that I'm going to be playing some nice stuff on the higher register, it's not gonna cut through as clean. Now, what might happen? You might not prefer the tone of your bass, but for this particular gig, in order for you to be heard clearly and for people to be able to kind of digest what you're playing and what you're saying, you might have to adjust the tone of your bass just a little bit to accommodate for the room. So yeah, just some little tips. Good morning to you, Portisville. All right, so I think I already got you ex Theophil. I can't pronounce your name. Theophil X. If forgive me if I'm saying it wrong. Say hello, Jermaine. No matter what I do, I never sound clean and clear. Yeah, man. Like I was saying earlier to a person that said something slightly similar, it's gonna come down to practicing. It's gonna come down to working on cleaning up the stuff that you're doing in your practice time, and it's repetition. You getting it, and it's a time thing. It's a time thing. You just have to spend the time with it and keep working on it. In the meantime, don't get discouraged while you're waiting, while you're working through it, while you're working on it. Like the topic of today's particular lesson, you have to be determined. You have to be determined that no matter what, you know what, I'm gonna figure this stuff out. I'm gonna get through this. I'm gonna, you know what I'm saying? You have to get rid of the excuses, because a lot of times when that thought comes, there's also an excuse as to why you don't sound this way, or this is happening because of that. I'm not having this. I'm not having. You have to get rid of the excuses, and you have to just be determined to dig in even more. That, hey, no matter what it takes, I'm gonna start pushing myself to get better. And here's another tip for that, because a lot of it is just like I was telling you earlier about your strings, and you're not thinking that your bass sounds good. Your mind and your ears could be tricking you, because we are our own worst critics. So you might actually sound better than what you think you're sounding, because you're putting into practice. I hear you saying, no matter what I do, it seems like I can't get any better. No, you're probably getting better. You're just not giving yourself any credit for the progress that you're making. So here's the thing. You have to start recording yourself practicing. That's a way we're going to start beating that. All right. So here's what you do. So from now on, when you practice, pull out your phone or whatever your recording device is, turn it on. Start recording yourself practicing. All right? Start recording yourself practicing. And so what you do, you start developing like an archive of your practices. Do it every day. Every single day that you practice, turn it on. You probably need you another hard drive or something so you can store your videos. But turn it on, record yourself practicing. I don't care what you're doing, just record it. What you're doing, you're not trying to be perfect. You're not trying to do this. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You take all the extra stuff off of you. It's just for documentation purposes. All right. So you document yourself practicing. All right. So you do that in about a month. Listen to where you were and compare that to where you are now. Okay. All right. Now do the same thing 2 months later. Do the same thing 3 months later. Now in about a year's time, you play what you had did a year ago and put it against what you're doing now. I guarantee you're going to hear progress. If you're putting in the work like you're saying you're putting in the work, if you record yourself and you A/B it, meaning compare it to 1 year versus another year, you're gonna hear the difference in your playing. Our ears trick us, and our ears sometimes go with your mind, with their eyes and not with their ears. You can get a musician who can't really play that well, but he's like really into it and he's giving it all of this, and then you come up behind the musician and you're playing some really sweet stuff and people are looking at you like, eh. And you can hear crickets, and the audience is not that you're not doing a good job, but the audience is responding based on what they're seeing. So the same thing when it happens when it comes to your playing, not necessarily the whole visual aspect of it, but as you grow, and it's something that a lot of people don't talk about, but as you grow as a musician, your ears grow. And oftentimes when you're putting in a lot of practice, your ears grow faster than your skill. So a lot of times we'll judge ourselves from the standpoint of our ears rather than judging ourselves from the progress we're actually making. So now you're judging yourself based on what you're hearing in your head and the fact that you're not playing what you're hearing in your head, because it's constantly growing, and that's what you want. It's constantly growing. Your brain, your ears are pulling you to that greater part of yourself in your playing. And so you're constantly climbing, trying to get there. And it's like, man, I was almost there and I can't get there. No matter what I do, it seems like I can't reach the finish line. Seems like I'm not growing. No, you're growing. You're making a lot of progress. But oftentimes in a race, if you're looking at the runner in front of you, you always feel like you're not going fast enough. But if you look behind and see where you started from and see how far back you've come from that starting line, you know that you made a lot of progress. So a lot of it, and I know you're not the only one having this problem, obviously, because you guys are watching this video. But if you're finding yourself in that state, you need to start, one, giving yourself credit for the progress that you've made. Don't get pompous, don't get arrogant, but just simply give yourself credit for the progress that you've already made in your playing. And you're going to start to see a difference in your playing because your mentality, it starts to change. You start to build more confidence. Hey man, I'm growing. I'm growing in this area. All right, sweet. All right, now I need to work on this. Now you can start being more meticulous about executing certain things in practice because, all right, I got this. I understand it. And you can be honest with yourself. I got this. I understand this. I kind of don't understand that, so I'll work a little bit harder on that. But for the most part, I got this figured out. You know what I'm saying? So now you can grow. You can actually grow. But as long as you stay in this defeated mindset and it's like, I ain't going nowhere, I'm not making any progress, you're spinning your wheels. You're like that little thing on a hamster wheel. You're just going in circles, not going anywhere because you think you're not making progress. The biggest battle of it is your mind. You have to get over your mind and what you think. Sorry for these long answers, but I feel like more people are dealing with these things than the people who are speaking up. All right, so also, do you know the Jones brothers in Chicago? Lil Rodney, Lawrence, Larry, those guys are my cousins. Oh, sweet, man. I don't know them personally, but I have met them. I've met Lawrence personally. I haven't met Rodney, but Rodney basically kind of took my spot after I left at New Birth, where I was. That's where he is now. So I don't personally know him, but through mutual friends, I know of him, and I've been familiar with his work over the years. So he's a phenomenal bassist as well. So yeah, see here, what preamp and pickups in that place in the bass. This is the Warrior preamp. It's a Bartolini pickups that are in this bass. I use Bartolini, but it's a custom Warrior preamp that's in here that JD designed, or somebody at Warrior designed this preamp. All right, so Melvin, what's up, Melvin? Good morning from Mobile, Alabama. Mardi Gras is in full swing. All right. What pickups and preamp is in that bass? All right, I think I answered that. Steve Lockwood, Springfield, Illinois. What's up, dude? I'm trying to catch up with the messages, so bear with me. I'm trying to get to you. Precious, he's a hello, man. I'm sorry. I just picked up the bass in January. I can accompany most songs right now. You are the only person I have been rehearsing with, and everyone at my local church is stunned. Wow, that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that. Just want to say a big thank you, my man. Bless up. I appreciate that. Thank you. Uh, it makes all the difference to feel your bass. Yeah, Danny, come back and let me know what you're talking about. I want to make sure that I responded that correctly. Any tips on sound checking the bass, mixing the EQ on the amp, etc., to get a good live tone? I think I answered that, Chris, but let me know if you need a little bit more clarity on that. Yep, let's see here. I need to hear this. Being determined is a good encouragement. I get down when my bass playing sounds good in rehearsal, and then it's a struggle during service. We've all been through it, Chris. It's just something that happens, man. It's a mental block. I'm not gonna go into a long, drawn out, explaining that, but it's a mental block that happens. And like I said, once you start giving yourself credit, you'll get through that. I always seem to get shy when I play in church. I practice quite a bit at home, but when I play live, everything I practice goes out of the window. Any tips on being more confident in my playing? It's like you guys are dealing with a lot of the same stuff, and it's common. It's normal. Let me say that it's normal. For most players, it's normal. There are cats who are just naturally confident on stage, and they don't have to work as hard with stage presence just because they're confident in their instrument. They naturally have it, or it has a lot to do with your upbringing. It has a lot to do with a lot of things, but it is a common thing amongst bass players, and I'll try to dig more into that here in just a minute. Floyd says, "Good morning, fam. Tune in already and blessed." Man, thank you, Floyd. I appreciate that. I'm beginning to get this calluses at tips of my fingers and hands. Is this normal? Yep. Calluses is normal. Good morning, my friend. I hope that you and your family are doing okay. And always hope that God keeps blessing you and your family. Thank you. I appreciate that. Bruce Young, good morning to you. Do you read music? I do. And I've been working on my reading because I don't do it often, and I kind of stopped after college, and that's been a long time ago. My reading is not that sweet. I was a tuba player, which should translate right to bass, right? But when I was in college, I never read for bass, if that makes sense. So playing the tuba and reading music for tuba is one thing because I'm, doing it here. So I recognize notes and stuff like that. But it was a challenge for me to convert that to strings initially because I played by ear, and oftentimes when you play by ear, that's your strength. So the thing that would work against me when I did play tuba is my ear, and I've told this story many times before. I would memorize songs quicker than I could read songs. So as we would be going through songs, I would hear it and I would be retaining the song while I was hearing it. So oftentimes it's like I'm looking at the paper, but my ear is outworking my eyes. So I was actually hearing it and learning it as opposed to reading it and learning it. So my reading struggled throughout school. So now I'm finding myself going back from time to time and really working on my sight reading chops. Now, if I sit with a piece of music for a while, I can do pretty sweet on it, but my sight reading was something that was always a weakness of mine. So it's one of my things that I'm constantly working on. I ain't gonna say constantly, from time to time, and here lately I've been working on my sight reading to improve that because that's not a strength for me. That's not one of my strengths. My ear is definitely my strength. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, that was it. Um, did you wash did you wash the dishes this morning? Nah, man, I washed them last night, man. Steve said, I'm not washing no dishes. Good morning, Jay. So Steve, so on the dishwashing tip, so if you're not following me on Instagram, that's just an inside joke. You're not getting the context of the joke. So if I posted something on the other day about, people, how people are always kind of flexing on social media, showing the highlights and all this great points of their life, but people rarely show normal stuff or regular stuff that everybody does, but most people don't talk about. Most people don't show that on social media. So I was being silly the other day. I posted a picture of me washing dishes, and I was like flexing on the gram or something, something like that, and just talking about helping my wife or something like that. Because it's like we're both at home. My wife, she works with my kids. She works extremely hard with my kids, and does a great job keeping the house up. So at the least, I can help her with washing dishes and that kind of thing. I don't have the typical 9 to 5 where I'm gone all day, and so I can come in demanding I want a hot cooked meal. My wife cooks 3 times a day. She makes sure that we're fed. She does everything around the house. So my whole thing is just making sure I'm being that supportive situation. You know what I'm saying? For my wife, because I know how it is that she gets overwhelmed sometimes. And when you have 3 little kids and they're constantly tearing the house down, like you can clean it up and in 2 hours it looks like you didn't touch it. Yeah, I know she could use some help, and we still young, so you know what I'm saying? I gotta make sure I keep a happy life. It's not that she's demanding that from me, but it's like I've done that at home when I lived with my mom. We just try to keep a clean house. So it's that thing about me as a husband, just trying to make sure that I'm helping out and making sure that I don't push my wife to an early grave from being stressed out, as well as myself. You know what I'm saying? I like a clean house too, so hey, why not? So sorry to get back to get back on point. All right, so uh, I'm missing some comments. MJ2, what's up, man? Good morning. Good morning to you. So what's up? So I got a few. Let me mention this. I got a few of my people who have did the coaching calls with me, the one-on-one coaching calls that I've done. The coaching calls are basically base lessons, but I call them coaching calls because I'm not just showing you something and just moving on to the next thing. I actually want to help you grow. The people that I'm taking the time out to do these coaching calls with, I actually want to help you grow and go to the next place in your playing by helping you to identify what those weaknesses are in your playing, and being able to provide you a solution for that. So I have a few people on here that have did the coaching calls with me. First of all, publicly, thank you for trusting me to help you to grow, and I appreciate you, for even just doing these coaching calls with me. I know they've been beneficial to you, and they've been helpful to me in being able to understand what you guys are needing. So as much as they're a benefit to you, they really, really help me as a content creator, as a teacher, because after a while, after you've been playing for a while, after you learn so much stuff, sometimes, I'm not going to say you can forget, but sometimes because you're not in a certain space, you don't necessarily know what different people are dealing with. But when I do these one-on-one calls and I'm able to see one-on-one what people's struggle points are, one of my themes is I know if one person has a question, at least 10 people have the same question. So me being able to do these one-on-one calls with different individuals, they really, really help me to help me to put together more content, and it helps me to better understand what you guys need. So just a side note, if you're interested in doing a one-on-one Skype video call with me, you can sign up on my website, JermaineMorgan.net, and go to the coaching call tabs. I have like 4 different options that you can check out, and yeah, let's set that up if you're interested in that. So let me get back to the comments and try to respond to as many people as I possibly can. All right. So Eric says, "What's up, Morgan? How to develop your ear?" Eric, man, I talked about that on last week as well in the live. So it's really about kind of listening, just listening as much as you possibly can. That's the short answer that I can give to that. Listening to as much music as you possibly can. Starting to sing what you're hearing when you're hearing it, and try to repeat. Listen, sing, repeat on your instrument as best as you can. So that's the way to develop your ear. Transcribing music, meaning just listening to it, figuring out whether you score music out and you literally write it down, or whether you just do the tedious thing of listening 10 seconds in. All right, I see what they got here. So they played. All right, let me go back and see what that was again. And just it's tedious, but listening to it and transcribing the exact thing that people played. I have solos, like for instance, my record Life. Most of my songs on Life, I've created backing tracks on my website for Life. Those are, you can purchase those. But I take my solo out of the song, so you have the opportunity to listen to the record, dissect everything that I'm doing. Now put the backing track of that particular song on, and you play to it and play the exact thing that I was playing, you know what I'm saying? But you can take my solo away and play it verbatim yourself. Now you're transcribing that song and you're strengthening your ear to learn improvisation. Right now, in that particular sense, you would be learning what I played, but what it's doing ultimately is building your language, building your vocabulary, and it's helping you skip steps. Because when you have to just start, if somebody gives you a book and just say, figure all this stuff out, you know what I'm saying? You got the book, just like when you're getting thrown a whole bunch of theory lessons and that kind of stuff. You got the information, but it's like, man, how do I apply this stuff? But if you take something, another solo that somebody else has transcribed, and transcribe a solo that somebody else has played, essentially you're taking information and you're breaking it down for yourself. You break all of that information down and you add it to what you already know. And you begin to get better. You begin to build your vocabulary. And the more you do that, the more sense it makes. So it cuts off ultimately what transcribing does in a nutshell. It cuts off the time that you would have to put in learning all this other stuff. And the biggest thing, you figure out, okay, what is it that I'm playing? After a while, if you've been learning theory and all that kind of stuff, it'll start the pieces will start to fall together. Or maybe you might get it later. A lot of my theory information, even though I took theory in college, I didn't get what exactly it was I was playing till later. And that was because of me digging and YouTube, the whole rise of YouTube, because when I was in college, YouTube didn't exist. But you know what I'm saying? Me digging and finding information, okay, this is what it is I'm playing. Okay, so there's really no timestamp on learning theory and all that kind of stuff. But if you start transcribing, I guarantee you that will move you forward a lot faster than trying to sit here and figure everything out by theory. Theory will help you have the note names and be able to identify what it is people are playing. It goes hand in hand. But if you're doing them both at the same time, if you're transcribing and you're learning theory, oh man, you're killing two birds with one stone, and you're gonna jump leaps and bounds. You're definitely gonna do that. So those are the things that really will strengthen your ear. The biggest thing I'll say is transcribing. All right, so I was a tuba player also, Alcorn State University. Sweet man, I was at I didn't play at UNA, but I did go to UNA. But I was a tuba player at ICC, Itawamba Community College. Did my entire, I was a tuba major for a little while there, and we changed that thankfully. Good morning. I'm struggling with building music vocabulary. How do you suggest I improve that? I want to have a whole lot more stuff and add to. I think I just answered that, CeeLo. That's good, man. I just answered your question. All right. I was wondering what that was about. You talking about the dishes post? What's happening? I don't know if I got a call trying to come in. Can you guys still hear me? Look like I got knocked off for a second. Throw a thumbs up if you can still hear me. Not sure what happened there. All right. I don't want to keep going if you guys can't hear me. So let me know. Let me know if you can still hear me. All right. I don't know. We must be having some. It's been raining. It's been something that I'm doing. It keeps jumping. It keeps saying reconnect. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing, Danny. It keeps going off and on, and I don't know why that's happening. But I'm gonna blame it on the weather. All right. So let's see here. I'm teasing, bro. You're a great example of young men, how to be godly husband and father. Much love, man. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. All right. I just gotta say I love your backing tracks. I love playing them. They're fun and inspiring. Appreciate that, Dimitri. Yeah, you're still on here. Sweet. All right. It was something else that I meant to address. I was trying to get through all these comments so I didn't get too far behind. But somebody said something else earlier that I wanted to, if I can remember what it was. I think I covered mostly everything. I'm gonna try to put my I'm gonna try to put it here and see if I can get a better response. All right, let me try to set it here. I apologize for all this moving and stuff, but I don't know why it keeps getting disconnected. So I'm gonna try to set it here and see what happens. All right, so what I would say in response, uh, get that set. How's that? All right, that's better. All right, so just the be determined part. What I would say concerning the whole be determined thing is you guys you can't give up. You have to watch what you say. You have to watch what you allow to come out of your mouth, because not being too deep, but what you say is what you manifest. If you keep saying stuff like, man, I suck, that false humility thing that a lot of us do and a lot of us say, or when we feel some type of way, we're quick to say things like that. I suck. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to, not completely. I hadn't soundproofed my studio completely. It still needs a lot of work. So yeah, I haven't soundproofed it all the way. It got some sound treatment, but it's not enough. But yeah, so especially not this side of the room. The other side is a lot better, but this particular side of the room needs some work because it sits up off the ground. So yeah, but yeah, you got to be careful of the statements you make in regards to yourself, in regards to your own playing, because your own statements, the things that you allow to come out of your mouth concerning your playing, could be the things that are holding you back. Because mentally, your brain doesn't know if you're being serious or if you're just playing. It does and it doesn't. And what I mean by that, like your subconscious, I'm not going to say your brain, but your subconscious. So when you keep saying things, you're depositing those things in your subconscious. So if you keep saying stuff like, I suck, and you keep hearing yourself say that over and over again, everything in your body, your mind, everything is going to respond to what you say. So if you keep saying, I suck, well, that's how you're going to play. You're not going to be confident. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to your plan, it's like, yeah, I'm a good bass player. And I don't mean it's to give yourself credit. Let me say this, because I'm telling you guys stuff that I had to personally deal with. I don't tell you anything that I try not to tell you anything that I haven't personally dealt with or I don't know anything about. I personally dealt with those limiting beliefs of myself and having low self-esteem as a player, always comparing myself to other people earlier in my career, earlier in my playing, because I would always, and you're always going to run into people who are better than you. But early part of my life, it was hard for me to handle that, being around people who were better than me, because it made me feel inferior to them, as opposed to, oh man, that's something I can grow to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it made me have this whole inferiority complex because of the conversations that I would tell myself, oh man, I suck, but this person is awesome. And if you constantly do that and you constantly put other people up and put yourself down, you always mentally keep yourself there. You keep yourself in a state of inferiority instead of giving yourself credit for what you actually do, and have a mindset that, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm gonna figure this thing out. I'm gonna figure this bass out. I'm gonna figure this music thing out. I'm gonna figure out how to make my career work. I'm gonna figure it out. Having that can-do mentality, having that can-do attitude will make a huge difference for you. But if you constantly feed yourself this thought of, oh man, I can't, you know what I'm saying? I try and I seem like I can't get it, and I can't, saying I can't and rehearsing I can't over and over and over and over again, you start to respond. Your body starts to respond to, oh, they can't. Okay, sweet. Well, I'm not going to try. You don't really kick in and do the extra amount of effort that's necessary. I talked about this book, The 10X Rule, that I've been reading by Grant Cardone. If you guys haven't read that book, I advise you to pick that book up. Become readers. Become readers. Pick this book up, The 10X Rule. And what this book simply talks about, in short, it talks about the amount of effort that's necessary. The amount of necessary effort that you have to take for something that you feel that's a worthy goal. And I've talked about this in some of my groove and motivation videos as well. The amount of effort that it's going to take for you to achieve that goal that you're actually going after is going to be 10 times what you thought it was going to be. Some of you thinking, okay, man, I'm putting in everything I can. No, let's not say that, because how much TV are you watching? Let's be honest. And I'm guilty of this. How often are you getting sidetracked by Instagram? How often are you getting sidetracked by Facebook? So how many, like, you look at your time spent on your phone on these different applications, because especially for all of us that say we don't have time to practice, but we can find 2 or 3 hours to spend on social media. I'm just saying, if you're not working on social media and it's not necessarily making you money, it's wasting your time. You're not being that social with people, going through and looking at everybody's posts, ha ha ha, or you laughing to yourself, but you never comment on anybody's stuff. I know the majority of people who are on social media, I know this from my own experience, the majority of people who are on social media don't engage. They're just there looking. I have, like, on my Instagram channel, like, probably, almost 11,000 people, like 10,000 and some odd people that are following me on Instagram, and maybe 5 to 10% of those people regularly engage with me that are following me on Instagram. 10,000 people, and you can't say, "Well, I don't see your post, man." I know there's an algorithm that hides the post, but there's a reason why that algorithm hides the post. It hides the post due to people not, you know what I'm saying? People not engaging, people not responding to posts that people put up and that kind of thing. So all in all, my point of saying that is most people that are on social media are not engaging, they're just looking. And a better way to say it, a lot of people on social media just lurking. They're not even there to support people that they follow. They're just keeping up with what they're doing just so a lot of them can steal their ideas, or they can keep tabs on them to see, oh, I knew they wasn't what they say they were. A lot of people have ulterior motives. So all those things being said, is like you spend and waste a lot of time on social media when you're actually not being social. So that time that you're wasting, you know what I'm saying, talking about I'm being social, no, you can be practicing. You can be working on honing your craft. Part of the problem why you feel like you're not growing is you're not putting enough practice in. I'm just calling a spade a spade. I'm here to help you. So part of the reason, and the reason why I can confidently say that, because I have to come at myself with the same information. So if I plan to help you, I got to talk and I got to be honest with myself. Okay, you've been spending too much time on this week. You need to get on this. You need to work on that. Oh, you didn't finish that because I hold myself to a high standard. I hold myself accountable, and I have to be honest with myself when I'm dropping the ball on something. Okay, why is this not happening? What did you do? What could you have done? Now, if you're in a situation that you know you're giving 100% and you're doing all that you can do, well, at that point, the ball ain't in your court. That's in God's hands. But there are some things that we push off on God because we are too afraid, number one, to do them. We're too lazy to do them. And fear will be the main thing, of course. Afraid and we're too lazy. They're really the two main things. Because when you take everything else out of the equation, what else is holding you back? If you're not scared to do it or scared to try it, you're probably just too lazy to do it. Because nothing else is holding you back. The opportunity is there. The time is there. You have the same 24 hours that I have or anybody else have in a day, but most of the time we don't put that time in because we want somebody to give us the short answer. I don't want to read the 10x rule. Why don't you just read it and tell me what it's about? That's the type of, and I don't want to be on a rant here, but I got to be honest. If you guys are coming to me, you're going to get the truth. That's the thing. Most people nowadays, we'd rather somebody else do the work, give us the short version. You'd be surprised how many people comment, and I know it ain't none of y'all, but you'd be surprised how many people comment on my YouTube videos that I teach and try to tell me how I need to teach to better help people. And I go on this person's channel. So if you come at me with a negative comment, I'm gonna just be honest with you. Chances are I'm gonna check out your page. Not to be trashy, not to be petty, but I'm gonna check out your page because I want to check the value of what you're saying. Because if you're not adding any value to anybody, what do you have to say to me? If you are so smart and you have so much wisdom about how a person should do something, I should be able to go to your page and see how good you are doing it. You know what I'm saying? I should be able to go to your channel and see, oh wow, they're giving a lot of information, they're giving a lot of content. But almost always, the people who have the nastiest comments, the people who don't give constructive criticism, people who just criticize, they don't have any content. They don't post anything on Facebook. They don't post anything on Instagram. It's just random stuff. As far as adding value, they add no value, but they have all of the negative feedback. Hey, you should do this. You should look into doing that. You should try to do this. And what I found with most successful people, or the people who are actually creating content, like I'll use like Scott. Scott's Base Lessons. I don't personally know Scott, but I have talked to Scott via social media before, and I've gotten nothing but positive feedback from Scott. I'm just being honest. Derek Bennett. I don't really personally know Derek, but he and I have talked. But same thing across the board. Nothing but positive feedback. When I talk to Derek, it's positive. Vice versa. When I get something back from him, it's positive. So the people who are doing it and the people who are adding value to other people, we don't have time to be negative. We don't have time to start trying to criticize what other people are doing because we're too busy trying to get better ourselves. We're too busy trying to help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So when you're trying to add value, and for you guys that are trying to grow, you want to know, if I can be honest with you, I've said this before, but some of you might be new, so it might be new for you. You want to know what made the biggest difference in my playing outside of me practicing? This is going to come as a shocker to a lot of you. Was me actually doing lessons. Yep. Me actually helping people. I learned early on, the more I help people, the more I retain. Because one thing about teaching, one thing about sharing information, you know what I'm saying? One thing about sharing information, you have to know what you're talking about. And even if you find yourself in a situation, because there are students that I've had that they know a little bit more information than me, but they don't know how to apply the information the way that I know how to apply the information. So that's the thing that separates us. Even if you know a little bit more, well, maybe you might be teaching me something, and now I got to go and read up, and I got to go learn about this topic that you brought to my attention. Maybe I'm not as advanced in this particular area, but give me a minute and I will be. I guarantee you that. Give me a little time and I'll work on it and I'll develop this a little bit more. So when I do come back to you, I'll have something for you. I'll be able to get back to you. I'll be able to give you this, what you're asking, because I'm not a whiz. I don't think anybody is a know-it-all of anything. I don't think I don't believe it's possible because there's an infinite amount of information out there. So we're always in a state of learning when it comes to this instrument. We have these things, but like, this person mastered the instrument. There's a level of mastery, but I don't think anybody ever fully masters anything because it's forever evolving. You think you've mastered this instrument, and then some little kid from somewhere in the world that you've never heard of comes out and start doing something that nobody ever thought to do with this instrument. Now you have to figure it out. You don't have to figure it out, but it's something that you didn't know that you could do on the instrument. So you really haven't mastered it. You have a level of mastery that you've acquired with what you know. You've mastered what you know, but you haven't completely mastered this thing because we don't know. We don't know it all. We don't know it all. So, and that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty that keeps us growing. But at the same time, you don't keep measuring yourself against, okay, this kid over here let's learn this stuff, and I don't know it. I can't do this. I can't. Like, you do what you do well. I have so much respect for like the cats that came before me, like Marcus Miller and Victor Wooten, and not just them, even the cats that play gospel, like the Joel Smiths, the Andrew Goucher, the Reggie Youngs, the Reggie Parker, so many other people, the gospel quartet cats. And I mentioned people that I know about again, like Merlin Lucius, the cat that played for the Canton Spiritual, so many others. Even back home, like I mentioned the guy on last week, Ben Real. I mean, Ben is not. He's not, and I mention him again because these are people I grew up listening to. You may have never heard of them, but to give you reference, if any of you have heard the Gospel Warriors tribute that I did, the Keep On Looking Up the quartet thing, that he was the bass player for that group. He is the bass player for that group, being real. So if anybody knows Ben personally, tell him that I mentioned him twice in these videos. But I admire them so much because even though you'll never hear Ben doing stuff like this, all that, you'll never hear Ben doing any of that stuff. But what he does it well, and he's mastered what he does. He's mastered that, and I don't think he measures himself up against other players, because I've heard the best of the best come in the room, but when they get on the song and they play what they do, you know what I'm saying? You can't beat him on that. Like locking with the drummer, playing something very, very simple. You know what I'm saying? To you, it might not mean anything, but in the context of where he's playing, it's perfect. And a lot of bands, a lot of groups probably want him to play for them just because of how he plays in the context of his environment so well. Here's the thing I'll leave you guys with. You tell a fish, you take a fish out of water and tell it to, walk. You leave that fish feeling stupid. This is a quote by somebody. I don't remember the person who said this, but if you put that fish in the water, it's going to thrive. This is my paraphrase version of that quote. But if you tell a fish to climb a tree, you're going to leave that fish feeling really, really, really dumb, because that's not his environment to thrive. That's not his environment to just, I can't even think of a word, but that's not his environment. Put him in that water and he going to do what he do. You can't catch that fish once he get in the water, but if you put him on land, he's going to die. That's not his environment. And so the thing that you guys have to do is make sure you know that you're in the right environment. If this is helping anybody, real quick, throw some thumbs up, hit like rather, if this is helping you. Hey, host Jermaine, yes, indeed, always good to lock in with the drummer. Let's see here. Kansas City, I see you. Jerry Johnson says, I see that a lot. There's always someone being negative and think they can do it better. Everyone is different and like different tones, sounds, and genre. I also check out Derek, Scott, and Johnny. Of course, because everybody has something different to offer. Everybody has something different to offer. Here's the thing. What's for you as a musician, as a player, as an educator, as an inventor, as whatever it is you decide to do in music, whatever is for you is for you. But it's your responsibility. Thank you, Vic. It's your responsibility to make it happen. It's your responsibility to be determined, not have any excuses, and make it happen. You know what I'm saying? It's what's for you is for you. It's as simple as that. Appreciate that, Dimitri. It's like what is for you is for you. Nobody else can take it. Nobody else can take it. It's almost 8 billion people on this planet. So you don't think you can find work doing what it is you do? You don't think you can find work? You don't think you can find a following if you decide to create your music and to put your music out there? You don't think you can find a couple of thousand people to support your music, to support your vision? I mean, come on. The world is huge. It's so huge. I got people from Australia, UK, Germany. We got Zimbabwe. We got everybody that's on here. France. So many different people that are watching from all around the world. And it's about 8 billion of us on this planet. So you don't think you can find an audience of people who want to hear what you have to offer in music. Stop saying you suck. Stop saying you're not good. I'm talking to you. Stop saying that. Stop comparing yourself to me. Stop comparing yourself to Derek, to Scott, to Victor Wooten, and all these people. Stop comparing yourself to these people. Learn what you can learn from these people and keep it moving. Keep it moving. See how it applies to, it's like this. I'm not a chef by any stretch of the imagination. But there are a few dishes that I'll just make up when I have to, when I try to cook or something at home. I can do my thing on the grill, but when it comes to in that kitchen, you know what I'm saying? Like I'll be coming up with some stuff. And every now and again, I come up with something that's pretty sweet. But I like experimenting a lot of times when I'm in the kitchen, cause I take the rules off, cause I don't cook, so I can get away with stuff. If it's nasty, well, I can always say I don't cook anyway. You know what I'm saying? So one of the things I'll do, sometimes I'll look up a recipe on YouTube, and it might be something as simple as sauteed broccoli and rice or something like that. Just say one of the things with the recipes on YouTube, they might eat something that I don't necessarily eat. They might throw some almonds or something in there. I'm like, I don't like almonds, so I'm not gonna put those almonds in this broccoli. They might throw orange slices in there, or I've seen a recipe where the guy, he took like the peel of an orange and he sauteed that for flavor and for seasoning. Well, I didn't have an orange, so I had to improvise and put something else in there. And it's some stuff that he put in there that I didn't necessarily care for. And even looking at the recipe, I'm like, that didn't look like it had enough seasoning for me. I like some seasoning. I'm from down south, so it got to have a little bit more flavor to it than that. But I still took what I could take from his recipe, and I kind of created my own thing. And the whole point of that, you guys have to do that in music. You might not get down on everything that I do on every lesson, but there are some things you're going to be able to take away from every single thing, every single lesson that I put up, every single lesson that a Scott, that a Derek, or whoever puts up. You know what I'm saying? There's something you're going to be able to take away, but nobody likes everything that everybody eats. You know what I'm saying? So, in the words of my good friend James Judon, eat the meat and spit out the bones. Everything ain't for everybody. So you're not going to be able to be Jermaine Morgan. There's only one. There's only one. And I got to figure out how to be the best version of him. That's nobody else's job. That's my job. So it's not your responsibility to try to get to where I am. It's your responsibility to get to your highest level as a musician. Now, my responsibility when I'm coaching people is not to try to turn them into me, but my responsibility, if I decide to coach you and you decide to sign up for lessons with me, my responsibility is to, okay, let me evaluate what you have going on and see how I can better help you get to the best version of you, not me. Because one of the things, the cool thing, I'll leave you guys with this, the cool thing that I've been seeing in these coaching calls, and that's so cool and so rewarding for me, is after about 2 or 3 calls, sometimes I can get into the first call, but after about 2 or 3 calls, I can pick out certain habits that a person is doing, and I can find a system. Oh, okay, now I see what you do. Okay, now I see why you're messing up on it. Oh, I see why you're hearing this way. Oh, I see why you keep getting stumbled. Oh, why you keep getting tripped up on this particular section. Oh, you're hearing it this way. You need to start doing this. And each person, each coaching call is different. And that's the beauty of it, is finding out what each person, okay, that's what it is you're doing. And being able to show them what it is they're doing wrong, so that light bulb goes off for them, and they can start making those adjustments. And in their playing, they start making leaps and bounds, as opposed to just inching along, trying to take this information from this person, this information from that person. No, I can tell you exactly what you're doing wrong. Okay, that's what it is. All right, sweet. Now I know I'm messing up because I'm holding my arm the wrong way. I can do this instead of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm being silly. But you can point out what's going on, and now that person can move forward quickly, because that little thing that they kept doing that was tripping them up every time, you help them to eliminate that. So that's one of the things I do like for the coaching calls, being able to help people identify what works best for them, not what works best for me. All right. So I'm gonna read a few more comments and then I gotta jump off. Um, Jerry Johnson, appreciate that. Let's see here. Rodney Johnson, that's so true. There can only be one of each and every one of us. Even identical twins are different in their own way. Come on here. Identical twins have their own fingerprint. You know what I'm saying? You have your fingerprint, and your job, your responsibility is leave that fingerprint on the world in some type of way. Add value to somebody. I guarantee you, everybody that's watching this video, even in the replay, there's somebody that you can help to grow. And your growth is tied up in that person that you add value to. So you can take even this information, give your own interpretation of the information that I just shared, watch this video over again, go back through it, dissect it, and I guarantee you there's somebody that you can go out and help with the information that you already have and the information you just learned. You can go out and help somebody, and when you help these people, some of you know it already because you already teach. But when you help other people with the information that you have, you get more. It's a scripture, it's a verse. Given it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give unto your bosom. It's the same thing. Once you give out this information that you have, more will come to you. I'm a living witness of it. I've been on YouTube now for about 10 years. I've been teaching and sharing for about 8 to not 8, but like 7, at least 7, 8 or so of those years. I've been trying to, share my information, and I've grown in sharing the information that I know on YouTube. Sharing is how I've been growing because it pushes me to practice. If I want to share more, I gotta learn a little bit more. I had a lot of knowledge when I started, but I had to learn how to better explain it. I had to learn how to work on certain elements of how I deliver the information so that people will get the information. So it's so much to learn, but the more you do it, the more you record yourself, as we said earlier, the more you can see what those areas you need to improve are. And as you improve on those areas, so will your playing improve. So hopefully this has been helpful to you guys. And at the end of the day, remember, be determined. At the end of the day, be determined. Don't give up. Don't make excuses. And it is possible for you to become that best version of yourself, but you have to be determined that you're not going to quit. Be determined that you're not going to give up regardless of what happens. Side note, this shirt is Lathon Basewear. Let me shout them out. He sent me this shirt a while ago. But if you want some base wear, that's another place to go. Because some of you guys ask me about the different stuff that I'm wearing. Anything you see with my logo on it is right below this video. You can click on my store and go check it out. I have a lot of different apparel options as well, but this particular thing is not mine. This is Lathon Basewear. You can check them out, lathonbasewear.com. So yeah, I think Victor Wooten and Marcus Miller, he has pretty much almost all of the bass players you know. We all have one of these shirts because he reached out to us and got us to rock the brand. So join the movement. Lathon Basewear, shout out. So I want to show you guys, if you're looking for this, you can go and check it out. Here's the shirt again. Just a regular t-shirt. But this is not the only design. He has multiple designs on his website, so check those out if you're looking for some gear. Dress in bass gear every day. If you're short on bass gear, I got some for you. The Jermaine Morgan logo stuff, you can check that out. So anyway, if you guys have no other comments, no other questions, I gotta jump off this morning. I got a session today that I gotta get into as well, but it's been fun as usual talking to you guys. I've enjoyed answering your questions, and hopefully I've added value to you and I haven't wasted your time today. And it's been a pleasure. So thank you. That'll be all. Appreciate your time. Thank you, Marcus. I appreciate that. Thanks for this. I needed it. Have a blessed day. You too, Dimitri. Do you ever come on the same every day? Danny, I'm only on here on Tuesday mornings. Tuesday mornings at 7:30 EST. Be sure every Tuesday morning I drop content throughout the week, probably about 3 to 4 times a week. I drop a new backing track on Mondays. I come live on Tuesday morning today. And normally I drop videos on Friday and or Saturday. The Grooves and Motivation official videos, a lot of times they drop on Saturdays. I haven't done a lesson video over the past couple of weeks because I've been had a lot going on. I haven't been able to get to that, but I will get to another video. But yeah, there's content constantly here, so be sure to turn on my notifications so if I decide to pop up and go live randomly one day, don't miss it. Turn on my notifications so you know when I'm going live, because most of the time it's on Tuesday, but there have been occasions where I've jumped on here and it wasn't a Tuesday and it was random. So It could be a live show. It could be anything. So I don't want you guys to miss it. Be sure to turn on my notifications. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already done that. Go to my channel, watch some more content. Share the videos if you find this content helpful. Let some other people know about the page. The only way I'm able to grow this channel is through you, through your help, and I appreciate you. I appreciate your support. If you want to support the content that I create, because this is time. I have to buy gear, I have to buy camera equipment and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to support what I do and you like the videos, don't just be a taker, help me out. I'm asking for your support in my channel. The way you can do that, you can support by buying some merchandise. Again, I'm asking for your help. You can buy some merchandise if you see some clothing, a hoodie, a phone case, or something like that. Anything you contribute to what I'm creating, it helps me as a creator to continually put out content. I have on my website courses for you guys, riffs and licks. I have a shout course. I have congregational course. I have monthly lessons if you want to be a part of those. All of those things are the things that help me to continue to create content for you. So if you really appreciate the content like you say you appreciate it, be sure to put your money where your mouth is. Help content creators like myself to continue to put out content for you guys, because this information that I share does cost me. This did cost me. This information, it cost me time, it cost me years, it cost me experience. So the things I'm sharing with you are free for you, but they cost me something. So help your boy out. So anyway, I'm jumping off of here. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm Jermaine Morgan, and I really appreciate you guys. Have a blessed day. I am